I'm a big fan of puns, good and bad, so keep that in mind when I tell you this might be my very favorite episode of this show. Bad jokes aside, berries are supposed to be fun. They're bright, they're colorful, they're vibrant, they're delicious. One of the few things that people say tastes just like candy that really tastes just like candy. Amazingly, they're also one of the healthiest foods on the planet. A lot of doctors will tell you they'd be just at home in your medicine cabinet as they are in your fridge. Come on, let me take you where the food comes from. Plant City, Florida is a little town about halfway between Tampa and Orlando. There's been a thriving commercial strawberry industry here since the 1870s. In fact, about half the berries you eat in the wintertime are grown within a 50-mile radius of the spot I'm standing on now. Now, at one point in time, that number was closer to 95% of the wintertime berries. It's not that Florida is growing less berries, it's that they're growing everywhere else too. That's because in the last 20 years, we've found some amazing health information about berries. They are a true superfood. They're packed with antioxidants and other things that fight diseases, prevent diseases. So we've seen demand just explode as we've learned all of the good news about this industry. We came to Plant City, Florida to talk to a man who can trace his roots in the strawberry industry back a century to the streets of New York City. Now, I know your family has been here for decades now, but where did it all start? Where did the Wisniewski story all start?
My gosh, it goes way back. My grandfather, over 100 years ago, he came to New York City as a Russian immigrant in 1904. And he started out selling fruits and vegetables from a pushcart in the streets of Lower Manhattan. And after a number of years, he joined forces with another pushcart peddler. He first came to Florida in 1929. There were literally thousands of small growers, 1, 2, 3 acres. And back in those days, the size of the farm was dictated by the size of the family. And the reason for that was because the more children you had, the more pickers you had. Even in California, we have growers that are generational. There's families that have been in the berry business for several generations.
So I think with berries especially, it's a very labor-intensive crop. And we've actually seen your workers out here picking and packing in the field.
And that's how the whole industry does it. The berries, the way you see them in the grocery store, is exactly how they come out of the field. The workers are trained to pick them and place them very carefully and line them up where they look really nice. It's a skilled job. It's not a job that you just put anybody out here doing.
It's got to be nice to be in a market where you produce something that is so fun, so vibrant, so healthy. I mean, you could be a rutabaga farmer, but you get to work with beautiful berries.
Yeah, rutabagas aren't as sexy as strawberries. Let's face it.
Hi, I'm Holly Shute, the executive chef for Georgia Grown, and we are featuring some Vidalia onions today. We're going to start off with a Vidalia onion fig crostini. So I've pre-toasted these French breads for about 5 minutes. I'm going to take that and just spread each one with a little bit of fig preserves. Then we're going to take some caramelized onions. These were cooked in a pan for about 20 minutes in a couple of tablespoons of butter. And then we're going to top that with a little bit of Swiss cheese. And if you don't like Swiss cheese, you can use any kind of cheese that you like. If you don't like fig preserves, again, you can use any kind of preserves that you like. Okay, these are ready to go in the oven, and they will bake about 5 minutes at 350 or just until the cheese is melted. Here we have our caramelized onion and fig crostini, which are great just to serve as an hors d'oeuvre when you have a party.
Vidalia onions, hand-planted, hand-picked by chefs.
Meet your next generation strawberry picker. This is the Harvest Crew B7, It's what's being developed as an industry-wide effort spearheaded by Wisniewski that will someday replace the human hand in the field. The lead engineer on it is the same guy who brought you the BattleBots television program with the fighting robots. Bob, you've had a hand in a lot of things, from a famous TV show about battling robots. Your work has touched practically every computer chip that anybody uses in any application in their home or office.
This project is evolving from the fact that, mainly these days we have supercomputers in our pockets. So in other words, 5 to 7 years ago, you couldn't even have done a project like this because the computing power on this machine is thousands of times of what they had, say, to land on the moon with the Apollo missions. It's pretty incredible the amount of computational ability that you need to be able to go out and look at these, tens of thousands of plants and be able to determine which berries you want to pick based on their ripeness.
So when you look up underneath the machine, you just see a lot of buzzing and whirring and movement and activity and things like that. It's a very different look than a crew out harvesting a field. Knowing the difficulties that agriculture has in finding labor, how critical is a machine like this to the future of this industry?
Well, it's going to be big. I mean, that's the sole reason we started this project, because of the difficulty that they had in finding the labor. What this is going to do that's sort of different even from the traditional crews that we have now is the machine knows where every plant in the field is within a half an inch.
Wow.
And what it does is it just basically goes back to every plant every 3 days, and it's looking to see which berries are ready to be picked and whatnot. And it can do that 24/7.
It doesn't need a nap, it doesn't need a night's sleep, it doesn't need to stop for a
No,
lunch
it's
break.
completely autonomous.
Dr. Munoz, there's a lot of blueberries here.
There is.
But not only a lot of blueberries, a lot of kinds of blueberries, a lot of different species, a lot of different varieties.
Yeah, that's right. We have, in the blueberry genus or relatives to blueberries, there is around between 150 to 400 across the globe.
Wow. And how many of those are in commercial production? What are the most common ones?
So all of them, these 3 different species and 4 different categories, actually you find them like blueberries in the supermarket, but in reality it's like, saying oranges. You don't put mandarins and oranges in the same category, but here usually they get sold under the same label. Just this program has released more than 100 different varieties or cultivars, and so that means that whenever you see some of the smaller or larger ones, some of them ones that taste better than others, usually those are all different varieties that you can find in the supermarket. I would say probably was in the late 90s and 2000s when you start seeing, the peak of what they call the blue wave of the blue gold in that time, You didn't need to have much land. You didn't need to be an exceptional producer neither, because it was the first fresh fruit producers in the country. So there was a high premium being paid in that time for that fruit.
It was not uncommon at that point in time for a Florida blueberry grower to have 5 or 10 or 15 acres.
And unfortunately, we don't see that very frequently anymore, because the times have changed significantly from that time to what we have now. So each of these white marks that you see here, they are different families. And then when we make these crosses, we select the 2 parents to try to achieve something that we bring together from the 2 parents. Out of these 20,000 plants, we're going to get 2 that probably going to make it into a cultivar. The job of a plant breeder is to find out which of these they need to be combined to get the next one. But it's a long process, involves a lot of people, it involves a lot of resources and the time. But it's a work that we love. Talking about the challenges that our producers face, you can do everything right, but diseases and pests are still a problem. And then in Florida we get new diseases and new pests all the time because we are a port of entrance somehow, and the environment is so good for them. So it's good for growing these blueberries, but also it's good for growing pests and diseases. So that's part of our job. We're trying to select for the best ones, so try to avoid things like this. And it's a long process, and it's a very complex process.
And it's not right every single time.
It's not right every single time. We try to get it right most of the time.
Process of elimination.
Yes, that's right.
My family grows North Carolina sweet potatoes.
My family grows North Carolina sweet potatoes.
My family grows North Carolina sweet potatoes.
My family grows North Carolina sweet potatoes. In fact, over 2/3 of all sweet potatoes produced in America are grown in North Carolina.
So we know what we're doing.
At the North Carolina Sweet Potato Commission, we know that sweet potato is spelled as one word. Not sure about that? Check it out.
Our family grows North Carolina sweet potatoes, but Mom liked me best.
Today we're going to be featuring Baker Farms collard greens, making a frittata. We've got some colored peppers, some onions, with a little bit of salt and pepper, roasted potatoes, collard greens, eggs, with some half and half, cayenne pepper, smoked paprika, the salt and pepper, fresh basil, and pour those eggs on top, add some feta cheese, and pop that in the oven to 350 degrees until the eggs are just set, and we got some nice bubbling feta cheese.
Berry farmers are fun people, and in case you couldn't tell that already, wait until you get a look at Wish Farms' new office.
Did I mention we have a slide?
So the label says Wish Farms, but that Wish, you always remember, is short for Wishnatski.
Well, my whole childhood, I remember Wishnatski and Nathel, that was the company. And, my dad had this, one of his crazy ideas and decided to change it to Wish Farms, and the name stuck, and it's really become extremely popular with consumers, and it was a great decision.
Now that really was a stroke of marketing genius. With the Wish Farms brand name, and you use the pixies, and you've got very creative, hilarious videos, it's all part of trying to make that direct connection with people.
You're really missing an opportunity to connect with consumers if you don't create something fun, create something that is going to catch their attention. Wishnatski is a great name, it's my name, but doesn't roll off the tongue. So, Wish Farms, everyone called my grandfather Wish. So it was a natural fit, and then, everything just kind of grew out of that. I mean, it's a magical name, and so we got Misty the Garden Pixie, and so that's really kind of been the genesis of everything that our brand has been doing over the past decade.
So your father Gary is still very, very, very much involved at the helm of this company, but now that next generation's leadership is going to fall on a fourth generation of Wishnatski.
That's right. We have a really tight-knit family, and I know that my sister and my brother-in-law and my partner, we're all 100% in on this because we're in exciting times for the company. We're in a growth period, and we're in our forever home now, and we can just kind of build from there. And it's just exciting that I get to be a part of that.
So one thing about our Wish Farms Family Foundation is we have 3 pillars of giving: food insecurity, education, and community. So we are working with different organizations, both in Plant City, the state of Florida, and then even beyond that, where we can continue to give back by donating product, actual berries that we ship to, say, Feeding America or different food banks across the country. But then how can we raise dollars and then give back to the community with those focuses?
So now you married into the family. So great-grandpa Wishnatski, you didn't know him. You wouldn't have known him. You might not have known Grandpa Wishnatski.
I hear stories, though. Sounded like a fun guy.
I'm sure you do. But 10 years in, I'm sure that you share that same sense of pride and a responsibility to the past.
I see the respect that the Wishnatski name, and specifically that Gary has in the industry. And integrity in our business, unfortunately, doesn't go hand in hand with big companies. So Gary is someone who's kind of always done the right thing, not necessarily the most profitable thing. I think we have a responsibility from a Wish Farms perspective to carry that on in future generations and be, the biggest, best, most ethical company we can be. So although my name is not, my last name is not Wishnatski, I try to carry myself like a Wishnatski would.
Where are all of Wish Farms' operations?
Think of anywhere a berry can be grown, we're there. But from a operations standpoint from Wish Farms, we're headquartered here in Florida. We have an operation in California. We have an operation now in Mexico. We have an operation in Chile. But we have and represent farms kind of all across the United States, into Canada, down into Mexico, down into South America.
So this is one of our greenhouses when we start the process of plant breeding, basically, of blueberry breeding for the university.
So this is where new blueberry varieties and new kinds of blueberries get their first start, get their first flush beginning.
As plant breeders, one of the first steps that we have to make is select 2 parents to make the crosses and then generate little plants that we're going to see later in the field. So this is the moment where we select the 2 parents, and for example, we have these 2 here. So this is the female parent that we're going to be crossing, and this is the male parent. So this is the one that we're going to be taking the pollen to put in the female flower here. So that's usually in the traditional way, and this is what people call cross-pollination. So we usually take this, flower, and then we extract the pollen in our fingernails.
Look at that.
This is, even when you don't see it, I can see that it's there. I select one of the flowers that's going to be crossed. We remove the male parts of the flower. So basically we touch the pistil with the pollen of the male pollen here. Then that develops into a blueberry, and then we extract the seeds out of there, and those will be the product, basically the progeny, the kids of the cross of these 2 individuals right here.
And you have to go through that process for every plant in here.
That's correct. And right now in this season, we're going to do around 23,000 of that process.
Oh my word, blueberries are already pretty good. In fact, they're great. Why the need to continue research like this? What's the benefit in looking for a better blueberry? What are you trying to achieve? What's the purpose of the program?
We have many stakeholders. We have the nurseries that produce the plants. So that means that whenever we select one individual, it needs to be able to root enough plants, have a high successful rate in order for the nursery person to be able to make money. That we have the producer, the farmer in the field. So the plant needs to produce enough blueberries, actually, for the next person also to make money. And after that, it needs to go into the supermarket, and the fruit needs to last enough in the shelf so the supermarket people can make money. And then finally, our final stakeholder or client is the consumer. And the consumer, what is looking for fruit that is, firm and flavorful.
And
putting all those traits together is not an easy task. Now, we do have some of them that are good, but they might be good in the way they taste, but they might not yield enough for the farmer. We always said in plant breeding, in blueberry breeding, it's a continuous process. It's never going to end, because let's say that this is our next great cultivar, and there might come a new disease that affects this one. So we need to try to develop another one that's going to be resistant to that new disease.
So
and then once we got that, we might get another pest, and then it's basically an endless cycle of work.
So having diversity in the variety of blueberries available is also protection against a disease, a pandemic in blueberries that could otherwise, if everybody was growing the same blueberry and there was only one kind of blueberry and a particular disease struck that blueberry, all blueberries would be gone.
In 2020, Schumann Farms was very blessed and honored by our peers to be named Vidalia Onion Grower of the Year. It truly takes a dedicated team of people who are willing to fall on the sword every day to do whatever it takes, regardless of what time of day it is, what day of the week it is. It just doesn't wait on you. Even when you're not on the farm, you're thinking about the farm. People say, yeah, you guys are Vidalia onion farmers and this, that, and the other. And I'm like, well, yeah, we are farmers. That's one thing that we do. But to be a farmer, you own a business, you're in business. You have to be prolific at sales and marketing. You have to be an agronomist, engineer, problem solver, being vertically integrated, where we touch every aspect of the business, from literally buying the seed to literally packing and shipping that last box of onions, putting it on a truck, taking it to market all over North America. Yes, we are farmers, but we are so much more.
At Red Sun Farms, we understand how important it is to know where your food comes from. Our master growers select the very best non-GMO seeds to propagate and harvest in our high-tech greenhouses. Our farms are home to different varieties of tomatoes, peppers, and cucumbers in both conventional and organic formats. Whether you're enjoying produce from our farms in Mexico, the USA, or Canada, your family will be enjoying the highest quality and most flavorful produce year-round. When you buy from Red Sun Farms, you will experience our seed-to-plate difference.
From North Carolina's mountains to the sea, when it comes to selecting and serving the best local foods and produce for you and your family, it's got to be NC.
Chris, I noticed out on this farm, everybody keeps looking at you to see what's going on. What do you do around here?
I'm a farm manager at G&D Farm.
So how many acres are under your control right here?
Right now we have 490 acres of conventional and 150 acres of organic.
Wow. A long strawberry season, I think, runs November through March or even into April.
We've picked all the way into May before.
All the way into May. But that doesn't mean those other months of the year there's nothing going on here. What does it take to get this field ready to produce a crop like this?
We till it all back in, get ready around, end of August. We start laying the beds and plastic you see here.
I was about to say, these raised beds don't just happen by themselves.
No, sir. We have tractors that are GPS driven. That's why they're so straight, as you can see. Basically fumigate, lay the plastic, kind of different reasons. Like as you can see, the beds are kind of crowned. That's so the water runs off and the fruit isn't sitting in water.
Now the drip tape, what you're talking about, that's for irrigation. That actually
Yes,
delivers water and nutrition to each plant as they need it, drop by drop.
Yes, sir. And right here on the bed, there's a tube under this plastic and an emitter every 12 inches. And we run water through it and our fertilizer.
What's the purpose of the plastic?
To give it heat during the winter, because it's a winter crop, and so it's basically like mulch, like in your flower bed, but just more waterproof.
So you're farming over the winter months here.
Yes, sir.
And I would assume you've got to be prepared to deal with everything. We all see the pictures on the news when Florida gets cold and you see the ice hanging off of the strawberries and things like that. There's also a day like today in February when we're out here, and it's pretty warm.
It's hot. You can have one day and have all of it. You can be cold when you get up in the morning and then be just like this by 3 o'clock. So it's a challenge. Fog, rain, it's all a challenge to grow through.
I can tell you that actually the benefits come from the antioxidants. And the antioxidants, in the case of blueberries, they come from the anthocyanins, which actually they give the blue color, which is bluish color to the blueberries. And then there is other fruits and vegetables, for example, purple cabbage, but the ones that they have that color, or the purplish, is they are carrying antioxidants, anthocyanins, which are healthy and good for people.
Gary, 20 years ago, we thought we had seen it all. Now there's new kind of berries that we haven't even been introduced to yet. These are some. What are we looking at standing here in this field?
It's a pine berry, which also some people call a white strawberry. Got a little bit of a pink blush to them when they're ripe. They don't get red. It's got a different flavor profile altogether from a red strawberry. Back in the 1800s, I believe, there was wild strawberries from Europe, and they brought white strawberries from South America, and they crossbred those until they got what we know now is a commercial strawberry. But this is kind of reverting back a little bit to the natural white berries from South America. So white berries have been around for a long time.
I would have never in a million years guessed that. I've never seen a white berry.
It's just a really interesting piece of fruit, and we're really excited to bring this to market.
Now, is this ripe?
That is a fully ripe berry, yes.
Look at that. One of my favorite things when I was a little boy were these little personal blueberry tarts my Granny Carter would make me. I felt like I had a whole pie to myself. I didn't realize they just made me feel special because she made them for me, but because they were also so good for me. That's a message all of America has figured out now. Don't worry about running out of berries. As long as you keep eating them, they'll keep growing them out here where the food comes from.
We are a member-driven nonprofit association of leaders from all facets of the produce industry.
Formed more than 20 years ago, we continue to promote the value of fresh fruits and vegetables in the Southeast through networking, innovation, community, and education.
Today, we are a thriving organization who continues to share and pursue our vision, mission, values, and goals.
We are the Southeast Produce Council.
When you purchase Georgia-grown products, you support farmers, families, and this proud state we call home. Together, we will keep Georgia growing.